I think a lot of it, to me, if you lead with a giving heart and you really go after something like, how can I add value to other people? You'll feel fulfilled.
You're listening to Guards Down. This is Greg Washington.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Guards Down. I have with me a very special guest, Eric Upchurch. Eric, how's it going?
It is my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Greg.
Same here. Well, look, tell everybody about yourself. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So I grew up in central Iowa, moved out to California with my buddy. We were like, we're out of here as soon as we graduated from high school. Did culinary school, went to college, and then I enlisted in the Army after college to pay off all my college debt. Could have been an officer, but I chose to be enlisted for that reason. And I also had a kind of a leadership kind of heart and mentality my whole life, even growing up in Iowa, working in the cornfields. You know, I was always a squad leader or a team leader, even at 12 years old working in the cornfields. So I knew that my time would be best served as an enlisted member. And so I got to eventually, as a staff sergeant, I got to lead 27 soldiers and, do lots of amazing things in my unit. I was in special operations, and I made them all go to college, and I could really just influence. And so I get a lot out of that. So I've been married 15 years, have two great kids, and my wife stays at home. I work from home, and I invest in real estate. And now we're just trying to help kind of patch the bridge or create the bridge for veterans who want to learn how to do that, to give them a sense of purpose after they leave and even while they're in. So that's kind of who I am and where I am currently.
I hear. And so give the name of your organization.
Yeah, our company is Active Duty Passive Income. You can find us all over the place. We wrote a #1 best-selling book that's free. You guys can get it. Anybody can get it on our website. It's called Military House Hacking, and that is just leveraging the VA loan. You can buy up to a 4-unit complex, and it's an owner-occupied loan, so you have to live in one unit. But imagine that. Buy a fourplex with zero down, and your tenants are paying your mortgage, and it appreciates over time, and you're making cash flow the whole time. Then you can do that over and over and over again throughout your life. So pretty neat.
Yeah. That's a great hack right there. That really is.
Yeah, it's great.
People, they always talk about, how can they best use the loan to benefit them.
Yeah. And so now we have a whole financial services division. I don't need to talk about all that stuff, but we're just doing things that we wish we had. And then all of a sudden now we're just creating the things, the companies and the businesses and the support that didn't exist prior. And so it's just an amazing feeling, because only 13% of veterans that are eligible are using the VA loan. So, and one of my passion projects, I work with a Veterans Community Project. They build tiny homes for homeless veterans, which is a massive problem. 38,000 of our brothers and sisters that are out there sleeping on the streets every night. And my aim with Veterans Community Project, we're going to end veteran homelessness this decade. You heard it here. We're doing that. We're going to end veteran homelessness this decade. VCP is amazing nonprofit. And so they're building these tiny homes, and we're able through our book to give veterans an inside look. And we donate our book to the veterans who are in those houses. They now can learn how to improve their credit, how to apply for the VA loan, how they can leverage that and buy a house with zero down, no PMI. It's just an amazing thing, and it feels good. You can tell by the passion, and we can teach our boys that giving is the most important thing in life. So.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have done a very good job in transitioning out of the military into your new role in life. And so you were talking earlier, before we started recording, that everybody needs something to get into.
Yeah, you got it. So as long as you are breathing, if you're listening to this right now, it means you're breathing, thankfully. But you have purpose, you have a mission, and you just have to find it. Whether it's, real estate investing, or you want to join a club or start your own, find a hobby, find your passion job, whatever it is, you got to go for those things, because you've got one life to live, and we've all experienced loss, and I think a lot of it, to me, if you lead with a giving heart and you really go after something like, how can I add value to other people? You'll feel fulfilled. And, when I left the service, I was doing I still same job I have still. It's been 10 years now. I can't believe it, but it's been 10 years since I left. And I remember driving around the San Francisco Bay Area, and I was just a sales job and for a great company. But I looked at this homeless veteran on the side of the street as I'm pulling off an intersection or the highway. And he was standing there and said, "Homeless veteran," and it just got me thinking, I bet you that guy, and I felt great. I was special operations community, loved what I did, had just this incredible career, got to go to all the cool schools and yada, yada. But what that means too is, like, I looked at this homeless veteran and I was like, I bet you 20 years ago, he might have had the same experience that I did. I bet you 20 years ago, he didn't think that he would be standing right where he is right now. So what if that's me? What if, so then I'm like just really digging into myself and my personal life. And I'm like, does my wife deserves and my kids deserve for me to go and see if there's something wrong, to see if I can be better, right? Can I grow past this? I didn't feel like I had grief when I left the service. I loved what I did. I didn't feel like I had survivor's guilt when I left the service. But turns out, so I went to the VA. And I was in tears the first session I had. I didn't even know what survivor's guilt was. And man, it really hit me. So after that, I went through prolonged exposure therapy for 18 months and cognitive processing therapy for another 18 months. And I was just like, okay, as long as I'm putting tools in my toolbox and I'm learning and growing, it's gonna be worth my time to do this. So I was the burial detail NCOIC for my special operations unit. So we buried a bunch of Night Stalkers while I was in, and that really had an effect on me. That it was a quiet effect. I had no idea how long and how painful it was going to be to reflect on those things throughout my life, even 10 years later. So,
yeah. Man, you said a good bit, just getting into this, and I'm glad you bring up, a couple of points. One, thank you for your service and your efforts that you're doing now to help veterans. So, like, I really started to connect with you when you looked at the homeless veteran and you were like, man, what if that's me?
Yeah.
And, in the future. And so I think about homelessness, and I also think about suicide as well, because, on average, 22 vets commit suicide on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And it's like what we go through and what we struggle with on a daily basis, if we are not putting forth effort and work to make ourselves better and to grow, all that negativity, all that trauma and grief that we dealt with tends to eat away.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. When you're in the military, and I'm a great example of this because it was a high speed unit, whatever, so to speak. And like I said, the school's airborne, Pathfinder, air assault, SEER school. I mean, you name it. Kind of thing. I got to go to these cool schools, and then I deployed 5 times, and it was fun. It was exciting. We didn't have to follow the same rules as everybody. So you get this adrenaline, you get camaraderie. You don't move from duty station to duty station. And so I had a lot. You get accolades just in general in the military, right? That's why they give awards, right? For something great that you did. It's a pat on the back. It's dangling that carrot like, hey, keep on doing well. You also know where to be at the right time, wearing the right uniform. They tell you what to wear. They tell you how to look. They tell you how to exercise. Everything is laid out for you. So imagine when you leave, all of a sudden, civilians are unpredictable. Your new coworkers. So there's safety and security and control that you're lacking. You don't have your comrades anymore, and all the smoking and joking that you do, in the military. No one's giving you awards or pats on the back anymore. You lose sense of purpose and sense of mission. So why do you think that veterans go and commit suicide or end up committing suicide? Their intent isn't to commit suicide right when they get out, obviously. So how does it develop into that? Well, it's because you get out And now you're seeking, even just inherently, you're seeking that adrenaline rush that you had when you deployed, or that school you went to. You're seeking people to recognize that you've done something, and that's just a biological kind of reaction. Like you're like, where are my buddies? Where's my purpose? Like, no one's telling me how to exercise anymore. What do I do? So you lose that right when you leave. So then that's why you go and you drink, because you get something, in your system to make you feel good or feel different or something, or you do drugs, or you get arrested because that's an adrenaline rush. So that's why you see veterans having these issues. And so if you have a purpose, a renewed purpose and sense of mission and life and passion, you can avoid some of those things that could cost you your life. And actually, now that you mentioned 22 veterans a day, I don't know if you know who Grant Cardone is, very outspoken, jet flying, real estate investor. He does the big 10X growth con in Vegas and sells out the Marlins Stadium and all this. Anyway, I went on his, he does a live TV show. I went on there and I caught his attention because I caught him off guard. I knew I was going to call in and I was going to be the first caller and I was going to be on live, and I had to get his attention because I wanted him to come on our show. And I wanted to interact, but I had to break his cycle of talking about real estate and blah, blah, blah. So I said, hey, we've got a problem with veteran homelessness. How can you help us solve the problem? And so anyway, that just goes to say there's a real problem. It's a solvable problem, but we have to have enough people out there. And you see the 22 push-up challenge that's going on right now and all kinds of cool stuff. But the real solution is for veterans to have something to transition to when they leave. So I know there are programs like Skill Bridge program that, vets can, on their way out now, they can do like a 6-month internship, and that's great. The military is doing what they can, but I think it's up to us to provide like services and help from our brothers and sisters in arms directly into business opportunities, or into anything that takes their mind off of, the thought of harming themselves, That was a lot. I can talk. I'm telling you, Greg. You let me go.
Look. I love it. I love it. Look, I'm sitting here. I'm taking notes. I'm putting stuff in my toolkit, man, as we go along. So I'm enjoying the conversation thus far. So what I want to do is I want to take it back. Mm-hmm. And so, dealing with trauma and grief, I like to ask people, well, did your parents or your family or role models, growing up teach you how to deal with trauma and grief?
Absolutely not. My family was less than emotional. I will say, we were not no, the answer is straight up no. There was very little. We were compassionate and loving towards each other, but we didn't experience a lot of loss, to be honest. I had a great grandmother until I was 24 years old, and so yeah, it wasn't something that we often discussed, and we didn't honestly have a lot of trauma growing up. So seeing that, in service was pretty jarring,
Mm-hmm. So for you, it wasn't until later years in life that you even saw, those type of things. So then I guess the next question that I would ask is, do you think there's cultural differences in how people cope with trauma and grief? I think there's two cultures that we all are, is human and, in our experience, military. And those are really the things that we have in common. And that's really, to me, the only thing that matters. Whether or not you grew up with seeing trauma or in traumatic experiences. In high school, there's always somebody that passes away in a car accident or, does something else unfortunate, so you experience some loss, but that's a really good question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that question before. So like, if you grew up in a very traumatic, environment growing up, are you saying like, how do you cope differently from having trauma in the military also, or just as an adult? Correct. So for me, I look at it as, the the things that you go through as a child, you learn, little life lessons on how to cope with, whatever it is. And so you take those coping skills that you learned at a young age and you start to apply them, when you get older.
Yeah. And I think those coping skills are only as good as the parent teaching them, right? I mean, and that's just their opinion also. I mean, that's how they learn to cope. So you could have two neighbors sitting side by side and two kids that are best friends, and there's a loss in the family or in the neighborhood or something, and each one of those kids is going to cope differently because their parents are teaching them how to cope differently, according to what they know. So, and then there's individual personalities, and some people are more emotional about things and some people are more suppressive about things. And so I think it's kind of a crapshoot, but ultimately we talk about loss because we're all human. We talk about the life cycle of people and our brothers and sisters in arms because we realize that loss happens and that life is not infinite. It has a finite definition. So, and I think one thing the military has definitely brought that out in me is just realizing that we are fragile. And I teach that to my two boys. There's no, for instance, there's no race but the human race. And I think that is something, and for me, I mentioned this a second ago, but for me, I take that a step further and say, for my brothers and sisters in arms, I have a passion because we speak the same language and we've had some of the same experiences. And that's why humans run in tribes. We do, because we need that interaction. We need that camaraderie. We need that family and community. And so I really think that, it kind of can vary on how you cope, but in general, we all cope with loss as humans. I guess that's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
I got you. Okay. Well, with that being said, tell us about some of the unhealthy and then healthy coping mechanisms you learned and use.
So apparently my psychiatrist would say unhealthy is suppressing your grief and your anxiety. And I realized that when I was going through cognitive processing therapy, and she made me write out my story, and writing out my story made me say something. And then I had to read it too, by the way. I don't know if you've ever done this, but it's a miserable experience, but I'd recommend it to anybody who wants to be better. Write out your story, write out your griefs, and then read them to somebody, and you'll be in tears. I can almost guarantee it. And I was, it's hard to even think about reading that stuff now. I mean, even now, I wouldn't be able to get through it without choking up. So, so I think, some negative things would be to not seek help. I've seen my friends destroy their lives because they're too, they say they're too busy or they're too ashamed or they're too whatever it is to go and see the VA, to go and get help from anybody or to talk about their experiences with their family. They can talk to me about it because I'm their buddy that they serve with. But I think it's a real negative to not go see if there's something wrong, or to not, it's not even if there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with somebody listening to this who's experienced trauma. They didn't ask for the trauma to happen, but your body and your mind deal with it. It absorbs you and it changes your DNA almost. You can't unsee the things or unexperience the things that you've experienced. So you've got to let it out. You've got to get somebody to tell you a couple tools to help you kind of cope. Some of them will mesh with you, some of them won't, but at least you'll have those tools in your tool bag to help you get through those experiences. So that's bad. Keep your stuff suppressed. Good, I would say, find an outlet. And that doesn't have to be a psychiatrist. Your psychiatrist could be going to the firing range and blowing off some steam, or, whatever it is. I don't know. Torquing on wrenches on a car, if that's your thing, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Okay. So unhealthy, suppressing it and not seeking help, or, just going to get an asthma check, to make sure that, you're good, because 9 times out of 10, you don't know it. You know, being in the military, that tempo is so high that it's just back to back. You're always on the constant go. And it's not until someone close to you be like, hey, look, you know, something's off.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm a walking testament to that. Unless I had had that moment and seen that homeless veteran on the side of the road and just thought the way I did about that scenario, I would have been going on my life probably, and damaging some relationships around me, I would imagine. You know, you gotta have some kind of outlet for sure.
Okay. So when we talk about your military experience, me knowing what the burial detail is and how tough that is, because, you know, you're basically having to help prepare the final arrangements and escort your brothers and sisters back home, you know, to their final resting place and interact with their family. From the experiences that you dealt, let's talk about the collateral damage around that you've seen and that you also experienced and dished out.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I cannot listen to the national anthem without tearing up. I just can't. Because I have folded that flag over my friends' caskets enough times. And man, it's hard to even talk about now. It's honestly, that is collateral damage. It's also opened up, you know, on a positive note, I would say it's opened up my vision, my viewpoint on life, that not a lot can understand unless you've experienced some kind of trauma. It doesn't have to be military, but, you know, whoever it is that experiences a trauma, I mean, even like getting in a car accident, a regular person can experience trauma. And to me, that makes me look at life as a very, like I said, it's a very finite time. The years are blowing by. And we're here for 80 years. That's nothing. And I would even say, as I get older, time is accelerating. I just turned 40 this year, and I feel like time is accelerating. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I guess that's my answer on that one.
I got you.
I could elaborate on collateral damage all day. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but I mean, the big one honestly is like the American flag to me is sentimental, and I didn't choose for that to happen. I didn't choose for me to get emotional when the national anthem plays, but my vision, what I see is the preparation of the volley, you know, the 21 gun salute and the folding the flag and carrying the casket to its final and listening to my friend's mother wailing on the sidelines as we're burying. And for us too, here's a trauma for you that really most people might not think about, but maintaining military bearing while folding a flag at a ceremony, while listening to crying parents and knowing that the person you're putting in the ground is your friend, was your friend, that is a trauma. And knowing you know, having the pressure and the stress of don't drop it, don't move it, don't fold the flag wrong. You get one chance at folding that flag the right way so that the stars are in the right spot. And then, you know, doing that while sweating and listening to the crying and all that stuff. It is, you want to talk about high cortisol levels. That is a stress hormone cocktail nightmare.
Indeed. You bring that up because I had a similar experience, and, you know, just to share, I remember coming home from my first deployment. And, you know, that's when they just activated dwell time. And so, you know, my bags were already packed. My unit, you know, they were getting on the bus, getting ready, you know, to go to Iraq. And I was already in that mindset. And I was like, I told my commander, like, fuck it, let's go. Like, you know, just throw my shit in there. And he's like, no, Wash, I can't, you know, dwell time. You got to at least stay here and do this. And so I was slotted to take over for one of our assistant S3s, and his name is Greg D'Alessio. He was getting ready to come home, and he was getting out. And what ended up happening was he was KIA during a meeting with some local nationals in the area. And, I just thought, that could have been me. And because I was on rear detachment, I was the one on burial detail. I had to send him home, escort him home, and, do that and be there with the family. And just like, you were saying that, maintaining that military bearing was very tough. Something happened. I don't know what got screwed up, but his parents was like, he's missing some awards on his uniform. And this is during the final, viewing and burial.
Oh,
and there's like, where is his airborne wings?
Oh, man.
And so I'm sitting here like, shit, what do I do?
Yeah.
And so I took my wings off and I pinned them on him. And I mean, that was so emotional. Yeah. And, I didn't want the family to be disturbed. And I just remember like, in the heat of the moment, like just, what to do. And so, I took them off and put them on them. My hands were shaking, trying to maintain that military bearing just because like, and I remember his mom crying, and it was tough. You have a one-star local that would come and, visit, every funeral just out of respect and, to show that representation of leadership. And I remember him coming to me afterwards and was saying, like, you did a great job. I wouldn't leave the burial site until he was like put to rest, even though everybody had, already left and were getting in their cars. Like I made sure. And so like that burial detail is so honorable to me.
Yeah.
Like you take pride in who we are, and you get these young men and women that, at the early age raise their hand and say, I'll serve my country. And so when they give that ultimate sacrifice, you just want to just give them their just due.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you did the right thing there too. And that was honestly probably more sentimental to his parents or anybody who noticed that you did that, because it's coming from a brother, it's wings that didn't come off a shelf. They came off of somebody who jumped with him, So yeah, that's good thinking. Glad you did that.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So you look, we said earlier, if we get to that point of, hey, if we get emotional with it and we roll with it,
I was going to dig in a little bit and interview you on that one, but I didn't want to push. I didn't want to be your psychiatrist today. How's that make you feel?
Yeah.
So question always, right?
Speaking of feelings, so that's actually my next question.
Yeah.
What are some signs that you're dealing with trauma and grief? What are some feelings, some thoughts, some actions that let you know?
For me personally or for others?
Both.
Man, for me, whenever the holidays come around, it's funny because it's like it used to be Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Armed Forces Day, Flag Day, anything, Independence Day, anything that had to do with service, or the country or whatever, those would all be tough days because you see, all your friends are posting, who we lost. And then now it's the dates that we lost them are intermixed in there. And then it becomes all holidays. And now around so many holidays, just every month there's a holiday. And when people start to gather, I start to think about friendships. And when I start to think about friendships, I start to think about the people we've lost, the friends we've lost. And so it's gone from, feeling stress when holidays come up and knowing that there's a little anxiety, I tend to be a little bit more reclusive. Just want to be on my own a little bit more. And sometimes that means just getting in my vehicle and just driving around more or going on a trip somewhere or whatever. So, and I can recognize those things as they come up, but I tend for me to I just want to be like a cat, like get me away from people. I just want to go kind of be alone. And I don't know, it sounds kind of like I'm kind of sulking, but I guess it's, it's like, it's just my reaction. It's like, okay, here comes another date. Here comes another anniversary. Here comes another, holiday that's going to bring up feelings. And that is me trying to bury some of it because I'm experiencing it over and over and over and over again. So I just have to be aware of those and know what's going to get me through it. And then having something that I can turn to as an outlet is why it's so important, once you see that coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, that outlet, because like you just going right into it. So the next question that I was going to ask you is around support, right? How can you help yourself, and what kind of help would you want from others?
It's tough for people who haven't experienced and whether or not this is military related or not, but when you have a trauma, it's hard for somebody who's not experienced the same thing to help. When someone says sorry for your loss or thanks for your service or whatever, it's not what I'm looking for. I want to have a day where I'm just BSing with my buddies who are around, that have experienced the same things and have experienced the same loss, or who were on that burial detail with me, or whatever the case may be. I think that's the best way for me to kind of cope with those times. If I don't have that, the second best thing is to be distracted. And that could be something with my family that's exciting, or, taking a trip, or, getting a new deal and, real estate investing or something like that, just staying busy, which again is, as a coping mechanism, you don't want to, suppress it or overlook it or, try and not recognize it or whatever. But to me, it's more about getting through those times and being healthy than it is whatever I'm psychologically trying to do or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. So, for you, someone on the outside looking in, or someone on the outside wanting to help, you hit the nail on the head. You're not looking for, it's not this one word or phrase that someone can say and make it all go away. Just to have a day to BS with your buddies, I feel that. And then to have that distraction of family time, going on a trip or a vacation just to get away, or to put your focus in a positive manner towards like an opportunity, real estate or entrepreneur wise. Yeah. It helps deal with it. That's good. That's good. What about individual? How can you help yourself?
Help myself get through those times.
Yep.
Yeah. I think just like I said, making sure I'm busy or have somebody I can reach out to. And, that's something that we offer too, or we do. And there are a lot of outlets, but the people in our community reach out to us. We have a monthly Zoom call, just to check in. It has nothing to do with real estate investing. It's just a place people can go that you want to talk about personal and professional development. You want to get through a tough time. You want to tell us your experiences. We have, moms and military moms of military members that have come on and just really shooting the shit and just a place to go. So,
gotcha. So basically what you're saying, allowing yourself to be receptive.
Yeah.
Right. To, just having the people around you that, that care about you.
Absolutely. And that's tough to do sometimes, to allow people who care about you in also, which sounds counterintuitive, but find those close knit bonds that you can open up to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So tell us, what's been the toughest part of your journey?
I don't think, let's see. Well, I think toughest part of my journey was transitioning from feeling like everything was fine because I loved my career in the military to realizing that I had some baggage because I was resistant to it. You know, I didn't think there was anything wrong. I didn't think I needed help. I didn't think I needed to go talk to somebody. So I really just, I think that transition of going, wow, I'm somebody who's going to go to therapy. I don't need therapy, to like, oh, this is just somebody who's going to give me some tools I can use and take it or leave it, but I'll have the knowledge. And I do believe in growth, and any entrepreneur should constantly be growing, or any leader should constantly be growing. So I kind of looked at it that way and just said, these are just tools I can put in my tool bag. And if I have circumstances that I can use them, then I'm going to use them. It's better to have too many tools. And in your brain, there's no limitation on tools, right? You can always learn. So it's not like I'm lugging them around, you know?
Yeah.
So it was that transition. That was the hardest part, was just getting out of my head and going, okay, I'm not superhuman. I am human. So let's go get it checked out.
There we go. I wish
more veterans would actually go and just take one appointment. If you're listening to this and you're going, I don't know, I don't think I need to talk to a psychiatrist. Well, neither did I. And I loved what I did, but I've benefited tremendously from the things I've learned about myself and how my brain works and my experiences and how they changed me.
And I have to agree with you. And I always tell people, part of the healing process, you know, in overcoming and dealing with this is the research, the learning about what your body and what you're emotionally going through, emotional and physically. Because once you're able to define it, you can put a game plan to overcome it and to deal with it, you know? So that continuous research on what it is you're actually dealing with, and then being out there and understanding what treatment options are out there and what works for you, and just being able to try them and being knowledgeable of it. That helps tremendously. Just that knowing is, like they say, knowing is half the battle. Like, yeah, that's a good part of it. Okay. Let's talk about making amends. So that old saying, hurt people hurt people. So along this process of dealing with trauma and grief, you know, have you hurt anybody along the way? And if so, you know, how did you make amends? So I haven't, but I have friends that have hurt people, and I've been doing my best over the last 10 years to help them and to make sure, because I've seen it. I've seen divorces happen. I've seen near suicidal actions. I've seen them losing friends left and right. And I've been a rock for them. But here's one thing I've done to help them, which one scenario came to a head where one of my friends is an alcoholic. He hasn't dealt with his PTSD. And I just said, you know what, you've got to stop. And I was his best man in his wedding, so we're tight. But I said, don't call me again. I will not pick up the phone again until you can admit to me that you're an alcoholic. And to him, he didn't have a problem. He wasn't an alcoholic. He was functioning. He was going to work. But I asked him, I was like, do you have a bottle of booze under the seat in your truck right now? Yep. Do you have a gun underneath the seat of your truck also right now? Yep. All right. You've got problems. And it's been much more than that. I mean, he's opened up quite a bit about some of the things and thoughts that he's had. But I just said, don't call me. And that hurt him. And I was willing to hurt my friend to help my friend. And 9 months later, he called me and he just said, I'm sorry. I know I'm an alcoholic. I know I have a problem. I am working on it and, you know, trying to rebuild the friendship, but he did.
it was hard for me to do too, but he needed it. So sometimes in order to help people, you've got to hurt a relationship maybe, or let people understand that it's that serious. And I wonder too, had I not said something like that, maybe he would have actually taken his life on one of the times that he said he was going to. But it was a drastic measure, and I lost a friend for 9 months, but we're back now and he's doing better. But it's an uphill battle. So tough one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with that being said, I want to ask you, during your toughest moments, what kept you going when you wanted to give up? And, for your friend, I would like to know that as well for him.
Well, I think the biggest thing, and if I can leave one thing to listeners here, is having a strong why. Here's my why. I do what I do now for those who've gone before me, for they love to fight, fought to win, and would rather die than quit. So I serve with the memory and pride of those who've gone before me, for they love to fight, fought to win, and would rather die than quit. If I wake up every morning with a serving mindset and a relentless pursuit of growth and education and giving, you can't lose, because I'm thinking about my friends who can no longer feel pain. I'm thinking about my friends who no longer have the ability to feel entrepreneurial stresses. If I'm doing these things for my friends that we've lost, that can no longer do anything, that gets me a strong why, and that'll get me through those hard times. So I think of them. What would they want me to do? They want me to quit? No. So because of them, I will persist.
Indeed. I like that. So what caused you to correct any of your destructive behaviors, if you had any?
Well, I think I've been fortunate enough. I caught it right. I went through that transition right as I transitioned from the military. I went right into therapy, and I think before I got too destructive, I was able to get what I needed. So maybe my wife would disagree with that, but I'm just kidding. She's a saint. So I've been married for 15 years happily, and my wife is amazing. I give all credit to her to keeping me in line and making sure I'm doing the right thing for the family. So.
Indeed. And so, with that being said, and the fact that you said, once you transition out, you transition into getting help, sooner than later. And that's, even helped you, to this point, because most veterans wait until something's bad has happened for them to go get help.
Yeah.
And so I normally ask, do you feel like you have to wait until you're upon your darkest hour or until you hit rock bottom to make a change?
It's the worst way to do it. I mean, most people probably do because they have an intervention by family or friends, or they get arrested or whatever it is, but, or just have that dark moment, but, if you get ahead of it, you can keep those moments away. So absolutely, unequivocally, you must go and try to just figure it all out before the bad stuff happens. So if you're about to transition out of the military, make sure that you go as soon as you can, go see behavioral health without losing your security clearance. Go do it.
Okay. So let's talk about professional help, because earlier you mentioned, your therapist, and like you said, we're one race, the human race. But you made an interesting point, in that we have a military culture, that the military is a culture in itself, just like any other, ethnic group or, the corporate culture as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when it came to getting professional help, I normally ask, did the race, gender, or background play a part in the effectiveness of your treatment?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Probably for me, it did. As far as sex goes, I preferred a female therapist, and that was primarily because I felt it was a little less abrasive. That was just my personal preference. I didn't even have a male therapist at the beginning, but I feel like if I would have, it would have been a little harder for me to open up. I felt, I don't know, in that situation, I don't know, maybe, I don't know what your other guests say on that question, but I feel like talking to a female from a male's perspective is more like in a sensitive situation, who do you want to talk to, your mom or your dad more, you know? And I don't know, that's kind of just off the top of my head. I would feel more comfortable with a female, but the rest of it wouldn't matter to me. Although I would say one thing I feel like my therapist was lacking was military service. She worked for the VA, but she was not prior service. So I think having someone who's experienced some of what you have experienced, even if it's just basic training, then I think that could benefit it. It could also hurt it, because maybe some part of your healing is being able to explain to someone else what they haven't experienced, you know? So I don't know. I guess it could go both ways on that point.
Yeah. You bring up a great point, and I'll tell you about it after the show. So I appreciate, you saying that. Man, so just looking back on everything, from family growing up, having a great upbringing, to having a game plan about college, pivoting and making, a financial decision, and also an honorable one to join the military, and then to even get into the special forces and become a part of that community. That's like a big deal in itself, to how you transition out now and found your new role and purpose in life with ADPI. Mm-hmm. Right. And so looking back, what advice would you give your younger self? If there was any to give.
Yeah, I would say it's hard. One thing I recognize, it is hard. You don't know who you are until you're 30, I mean, honestly, it's like, it may be 25 years old, but certainly a 25-year-old over an 18-year-old. You certainly have more life experience, and just, your body's kind of done changing at that point, and you can start developing who you are a little bit more. But the military brings that out quite a bit as well. So I think I would say find intention, find your purpose in life. My life mission is to educate, empower, and to help people grow. I know that about myself. I've always been a leader of teams since I was 12, like I said, and always wanted to be a manager. And I didn't choose that. It's not like something I was like really trying to be a manager or trying to be a team leader, trying to be a squad leader. That's just, I was just who I am. And so being intentional about looking at who you are is important. What are the things in your life you love to do? And what are the things you hate to do? Even in multifamily real estate investing, I don't need to do, because you have a team, I don't need to underwrite the properties if the numbers aren't my thing. My thing is going out and talking to the community and making sure that, we have all of the asset management part down and all that stuff. So find your niche. I would say, younger Eric, find your niche, find who you are, and be intentional about seeking that out. Don't focus on the things that you aren't. Focus strongly on the things you are, and then hire out the things you aren't, or dismiss the things you aren't, because you'll thrive in any market, in any industry, in any part of your life if you listen to the things that make you tick, you personally.
I like that. Find your niche. Indeed. Do you see your growth in all of this?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And actually doing things like this, and, hosting a call once a month, and it's just constant development. You always learn something new, I imagine you learn stuff every day, every week doing this, it's amazing. So, absolute constant growth from where I've come in the last 10 years is great. And I know I have another 40 years of growth to do because some of these experiences aren't going to go away, but I'm going to get better at managing them, you know?
Indeed. Well, look, we're going to get ready to wrap up.
All
and
right.
so what I want you to do is just, this is your time to talk about ADPI and especially, that once a month call that people can call in and how folks can reach you.
Yep. So you can find me. So our company is Active Duty Passive Income. It's activedutypassiveincome.com. We have if you're interested in learning about real estate investing, single family or multifamily, commercial multifamily. I mean, we buy large apartment complexes, 100 doors plus. So if you want to learn about any of that or how to leverage your VA loan or whatever it is, go to our website. We have a Facebook group of 12,000 members and growing at about 1,000 members a month right now, and a 93% engagement rates. Just look up Active Duty Passive Income on Facebook and you'll find us. You can find me at Real Eric Upchurch on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, obviously, LinkedIn. And so please reach out, grab it. We have tons of free resources. Our book is free on our website. We have how to improve your credit book. There's so many resources. If you want to learn just financial foundations ebook, you can get so many resources from us for free. So I'd recommend people reach out if you have any of those issues. We all do. We all have financial things we need to keep in check. So reach out to us.
Awesome. Man. Well, look, Eric, I appreciate you coming on to the show and sharing. Any words of wisdom or encouragements that you want to share before we sign out?
Yep, absolutely. So here's the success formula for all of you, no matter what industry or market or thing you're doing. First, learn all you can. There's free information, there's paid information, but learn. Number 2, network your butt off. You have to know people. You have to be intentional about putting that out there. 3, add value to others. If you continuously add value to other people, it will come back to you tenfold. Don't think about yourself first. Give first and then receive. And then 4, you must take action. If you take action and you do these 4 things every day with the intention just to be 1% better, success will hunt you down and you don't have to worry about it.
Indeed. All right, everyone. This is Guards Down with Eric and Greg telling y'all to stay safe, stay focused, and stay engaged. Yeah.
You've been listening to Guards Down with Greg Washington. PTSD and complicated grief are very real. About 8 out of every 100 people will have PTSD at some point in their lives. About 20 to 54% of people with complicated grief will simultaneously suffer from major depressive disorder. And that's why shows like this are hugely important. Raising awareness for PTSD and complicated grief. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hook up with us at guardsdown.com. weareiron.org, on Facebook at Guards Down, and find us on YouTube and Instagram.